So over 8 years ago, I bought Bitcoin. I'm going to reveal today my plan for this upcoming cycle. I've changed a few things. I'm going to go through my mistakes. I'm going to go through things that I can improve as well. And I think it's good to showcase it because I think people are missing the obvious point here. In those 8 years that I bought crypto, I've been teaching crypto and I've also been full-time in cryptocurrency for over 6 years now, which is pretty crazy. But reality is it's actually flown by pretty quickly. And I know for some people this might be a boring video. A lot of people are expecting life-changing wealth in a flick of a finger, literally. But reality is it takes time, and I wouldn't be where I would be right now if I didn't have the minerals and the dedication to kind of stick with the course and allow time, keyword there, to take its course. But overall, let's go through my plans, my failures, my mistakes, whatever, and let's get into it. So the first thing that we need to talk about is liquidity cycles and, more importantly, where we are right now. Okay, the market does go up as liquidity is increased, right? We have a thing in any market called market cycles, liquidity cycles as well. We are coming up to an election, so it's going to be volatile. But we are coming up to that hot phase of the mania of a 3-year part of a cycle, which is usually where things go a bit ballistic. And I know we've talked quite a lot. And if you have been heavy in some altcoins, you've probably missed out. If you are heavy in Bitcoin, you've probably gained. The reality is here, we often get the same sort of behavior. And I know that's really interesting. But the stuff that you need to be mindful of in terms of tracking this to understand the trend is your friend. Now, this is a very different market. It runs off, in my opinion, hype more than technology fundamentals, right? Users are king versus technology. I will go through that in a bit, and I'm sorry, I probably will trigger you. And overall, some of my mistakes has been being too technology led. That's just the way it is, right? So this is where we're coming up to, right? It's very, very interesting. We'll come on to more of these charts in a sec. Bitcoin Magazine Pro has some really good charts. You can get them for free too on some of them. Now, in terms of the market performance of Bitcoin versus a cycle low, we need to talk about this. I'm a preacher of holding Bitcoin. Hold Bitcoin, have altcoins and other things to grow Bitcoin. That's the fundamentals of who I am. And I've been teaching that for a long time. I think I've got videos from 2018, 2019 talking about Bitcoin dominance, right? Back in the day when I was really ugly and a bit chunky on the face. But the reality is here, not many people listen. People get caught out by this shiny object syndrome. And this video might be pretty brutal for some of you to listen to in terms of my mistakes and what I got caught up in this cycle. Luckily, I've corrected it. But right now, that is where we are in terms of market elements, right? We're kind of on path. We have got an election to kind of navigate, which is coming up tomorrow, as you know. So that could be fun. But in terms of the overall metric of the moving average 200 weekly heat map, we're kind of here right now. We're kind of way above it. It's looking a-okay. We've been below it. And if you're looking at like similarities to life, the reality is here, we're consolidating like we did in 2019. We've had, obviously, this big, massive push to the upside. We're consolidating, right? We've had many consolidations in and around Bitcoin's history. Bitcoin is traditionally quite a boring thing to navigate. There's often time periods where nothing really happens. But overall, in my opinion, if we're looking out and we're zooming out a little bit, this isn't too bad at all, realistically. And we're at the point where it's not too bad. In terms of these numbers, we're nowhere near at the aggressive point. We're nowhere near at the point of it absolutely crazy. So in terms of percentage monthly gains and stuff, it's tickety boo at the minute. Now, again, I know people will be commenting, and feel free comment. Let me know what altcoin, and I want to know this, by the way, so please do it, has been your biggest letdown. I'm going to guess Polkadot will be in there. Maybe Chainlink will be in there. Maybe Ethereum will be in there. Maybe a couple of random stuff in there that you maybe bought high. But let me know. Also, leave a like and subscribe if you like more of this content. In terms of Bitcoin's profitability, and you can see where I'm going here, it's okay. It's more than okay, let's be honest. So stuff like that we need to be mindful of. And the whole reason why I'm talking about my plan, it's all around Bitcoin as the whole center element. Imagine the solar system. You've got the sun and you've got things rotating around it, which are much smaller. That is kind of how I look at the crypto industry, realistically, right? The final thing to obviously talk about is dollar cost averaging stuff. And I'm also doing this in real time, and I'll show you in a second. But every single bit of metric there, apart from in like the last year or the last 6 months, if you've been dollar cost averaging over time in Bitcoin, you've absolutely smashed the market versus gold, versus the DJI, versus the S&P 500 or whatever, right? 100% smashed it. As I say, if you look at my thumbnails and I have like a little thing with Bitcoin on the top left-hand corner, this is my dollar cost average account. Feel free to follow along if you want to. I am just putting money in every couple of weeks, just seeing how it goes. And I've got a percentage of that into runes, which will become a big part of this video in a second. Anyways, with all that being said, I am talking about this quite a lot on my Patreon, right? Overall, if you want more information, check out Patreon. It's all here if you want to. It's £5 a month if you want to watch extra videos. You don't have to go mental. It's also free. You can get a load of free videos for free. It's not too bad. But alt seasons, right? Let's get into it. People forget this metric. Now, altcoins are utility / technology, and also you got likes of meme coins, community hype, and all that kind of stuff, right? Right now, it's favoring the meme coins. Technology and utility, I don't think that's going to have to be an amazing pump, really. In the previous cycle, I talked about this quite a lot. Underwhelming. If I'm going to mention the previous cycle, underwhelming for a lot of people. They didn't make lots of money. A lot of things did make money, but they were meme coins, they were NFTs and all kinds of stuff like that. But right now, we're at 24. Bitcoin is outperforming most things, apart from like Sui and maybe a couple of altcoins here and there that are doing okay. Realistically, the status quo is like quite a lot of them are underperforming. And what is underperforming as well, by the way, is quite the big nucleus of the market. Realistically, you've got TON, DOT, for example. You've even got, obviously, NEAR protocols in there, Ethereum's in there, Cardano's in there. So quite big players. Some of them are trying to get into the green, but they are still way below what Bitcoin's been doing. So right now, it's not really the time to, let's be honest, be heavy in altcoins. And this is backed up by this image. You've probably seen it before. I know it's old. Phase 1, Bitcoin. Now, phase 2 would be, in my opinion, the likes of Ethereum, Solana, BNB. Pretty much, right? It's where money then flows into. And then we talk about money starting to trickle into large caps where we see big buyouts happen. So you may see like sort of NEAR protocol, for example, run a bit higher. You know, other top 20, top 30 coins doing okay. And then you have the regardless element of, well, alt season, where money rotates into things. We do have these little alt seasons every now. The last one was in like, what, January, February, March. They don't happen all the time. They used to happen a lot more, but they don't happen as much now. And I think that's because Bitcoin is a lot more superior. And I think people are a bit fed up. And the leverage and the market makers and Binance and all this kind of nucleus about listings and the fees and how kind of market makers manipulate the game a little bit. Whereas with Bitcoin, they don't have to do that and they can't do that because it's too big. And I think that is a fundamental problem. Now, I've often talked about this. Be heavy in Bitcoin, as I've alluded to it. And I don't think all altcoins will rise. And people forget the notion and the emotion around it that USDT prices are not the overall generic price of what your asset is. It's realistically the formula of what the Bitcoin price is in Satoshi value. So when Bitcoin does a 4 or 5x, you think, oh, I've made lots of money, my altcoins are going up. It's not the case, because often you find that you are losing in Bitcoin. You need to be mindful of that, right? So let's talk about my plan, because this is important-ish, but not the be-all and end-all. There's other charts and other metrics that you need to look at. This is a bit wishy-washy, in my opinion. But let's talk about what my plan was back in the day. Now, for obvious reasons, I've got a new version of this, and the plan is still literally in tune with this, but we need to talk about some of my mistakes. And my mistakes start with pre-sales, private sales. Basically, I got sucked into the world of being a key opinion leader. I bought a couple of pre-sales, and let's be honest here, it went wrong, very wrong, and I hold my hands up with that. And you do get suckered in, and you get told, oh, if you do this and you buy an allocation and you can get like these cheap monies, and it isn't the case. It looks like that, but it's not, because, well, put it that way, they don't release the funds. They pause the funds, they stop the funds, they change the tokenomics, they penalize you if you are no longer talking about it. And even though I have put my own money into it, my own risk into a brand new asset, you are still penalized even as a key opinion leader, which sucks. So not very happy with that situation for obvious reasons. But the reality is, It's all about risk management. It's all about taking that hit and understanding that, well, that didn't work. Let's not do that again. You got to live and learn. The same with other things in emotion of holding assets, because I feel that I am accountable to you guys or whoever's watching or whatever's on X, that I should hold it because I held it before. I know that sounds fucking barbaric, but look at Polkadot, right? Polkadot is heavily tech, and the technology is probably in the next 2 or 3 years going to come out and probably be pretty good in terms of the cryptography side, the decentralization, all the things and the bells and whistles that's going to be happening. But that's not going to make me money in the short term, is it? Let's be honest. And I've been caught out. Now, I did make good money in the first cycle with it. I reinvested my profit, part of my profit into it at the lows. And I was genuinely thinking this would probably do all right. And it hasn't so far, right? But for me, I should have cut that cord earlier. And if we're talking about a plan, you have to be fully on board with your own plan. Exit plans, entry plans, understand when to cut the rope. I had the emotion to not cut the rope with Polkadot, and I should have done it earlier. And yeah, when I did it, I got a lot of shit, understandably. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about plans and the future, it's my money at the end of the day. So in terms of that moving forward, more ruthless with what I'm doing. But as I say, this is the old plan. This is kind of where we're at. And I have made many mistakes, and I openly talk about them. If you're in my Patreon, you'll know this. I answer questions, I talk about what I'd done, why I did it, and why I fucked up. But ultimately, I also talk about why I survived and how I became better, and overall, how am I overall profitable still, which is quite fun. So you've got to kind of go with it. The reality is though, right? When we talk about profit taking, it's all kind of on here, but this is all, as I say. We're going to go through the new version of this in a way that makes it more simple. And I think it's important to note, and some elements of this, and you feel free to pause it, are old, but the plan to hold some Bitcoin in the future is still a part of the plan. It won't be as crazy. I will hold some stables in case Bitcoin drops. I think that there will be a period in time where Bitcoin will go crazy. Again, it's going to be a bull market for obvious reasons in terms of all the data. People will be out there going, well, Bitcoin's never going to go below $100,000 again. It probably will. But the emotions will be there. And again, we're talking about planning to withdraw into fiat. Yes, that's still a plan. So we've got to look at that factor. But let's talk about the technical side of it, because I think this is where people have no idea where to look. So the first question you're probably going to be wondering, why am I so heavy in Bitcoin? I've talked about it before. The dollar cost average metric works. The value of it holds up better. And more importantly, it is the rule of the roost of the market. And I've talked about it many times. You don't have to go through that too much. Now, the reason why I want to be heavy in it is because it offers me control. It's more stable. And this is going to sound boring, but I've kind of won in life. And I know, yes, I'm in a privileged position. Yes, I've got followers. But if I wanted to be like a proper influencer, I would have made more money in my email inbox than you'd ever believe. Like the amount of money that gets thrown at me for like doing promotions is ridiculous. Honestly, the amount of YouTubers that you are watching that are promoting stuff and you don't know they're doing it is ridiculous. I don't want to expose it, but I could, but I'm not going to. I can't bother with the shit anymore. The reality is here. The fundamentals of the market is very clear. It all runs through Bitcoin. Whether you're looking at ETF flows, whether you're looking at liquidity, whether you're looking at what could be coming in the future in terms of runes and stuff, which I will talk about, I think it's very, very important we take a note of it. Now, for me, and I've said it before, if you are monitoring your portfolio by how much Bitcoin you've got in terms of overall value, if you're looking at your portfolio, it will help you in the long run because you will know when to take profit into Bitcoin. If you look at the BTC pairs, it will show you what the overall story is. And to some people, they don't like it. Because often, as I said before, you don't see the true reflection of a price if you're looking in USD. So yeah, heavy in Bitcoin is very important to me. Now, in terms of my new plan, it's simplified. We're going to be growing as much Bitcoin as possible. We're going to be leveraging the power of altcoins and also runes, which is on the Bitcoin ecosystem. We're going to be leveraging the power of Bitcoin miners, which will grow my ICE of fiat, which is a related Bitcoin play. Not to mention, Stacks is a big Bitcoin play, which is 11% of my portfolio versus the other part of it. Realistically, right now, I'm 71% Bitcoin. The rest of it is altcoins. Some of those altcoins are runes, which is all heavy in Bitcoin. If I'm going to put a relationship amount on it, most of my portfolio, probably 85, nearly 90%, would be Bitcoin related overall. Then we talk about the bear markets. Hold Bitcoin stays the same. Hold stables in case Bitcoin drops. And withdraw percentage of fiat into other markets. That's kind of obvious, right? But the reality is here, when we talk about the future, we've got to talk about, well, there's going to be less altcoins, in my opinion, to play with because I've got more wealth. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if everything goes right, I do. I will use Tether for obvious reasons to sell Bitcoin when dominance is low. Well, you get the idea. Same situation. When dominance is low, same thing, rinse repeat, right? When dominance is high, you want to be buying altcoins. When dominance is low, you want to be selling into Bitcoin. And rinse repeat, right? Maybe not use future pre-sales. I don't think that'll ever be a thing, but I might well. You never know. Who knows? There might be some really good opportunities. But it's unlikely because I've been burned. Before I go on and blow minds with technical analysis about certain charts, and I want to make it clear that it can be quite confusing, check out Learning Crypto. There will be more and more videos getting put onto this as well. Not to mention there's a massive discount incoming throughout the course of November. If you want to learn, it's a place to do it. We're also going to be doing live courses soon too. So the dicing with death part, this is where we need to consider altcoin positions because dominance is high. All your BTC pairs on the most part are low. Now I've been slowly accumulating altcoins, very, very slowly, briefly. Certainly been buying some key levels. I'm very, very happy with my entry if I'm thinking long term. Likewise with runes, I've bought into runes and I know some people will switch off when I talk about it, but ultimately it's a high risk play on the Bitcoin ecosystem that could pay off and grow Bitcoin natively on chain, right? So when I talk about my plan right now, it's actually quite high risk realistically because I'm actually playing around with meme coins in the Bitcoin ecosystem with percentage of Bitcoin. Yeah, cool, right? So that's the high risk play. I've also got the success of stacks to become a really, really high part of my portfolio that is currently I wouldn't say underperforming, but I am below where I bought, but I'm happy to ride that volatility. I have NIA protocol and I have the likes of ICP as well, which could also be a high risk play because I'm banking on AI to do something in terms of making a new bubble, basically, right? Now, for me, that's kind of where I'm at. But for everyone else, if you are considering the fact that you were holding altcoins down here and you weren't anywhere near Bitcoin, you've probably got a very, very big problem when you toggle your portfolio into Bitcoin. And I know for some people you'd be commenting and going, what the fuck? But reality is you've probably missed out massively. There is some massive altcoins like are at the lows and they're like, well, I wouldn't even use that as an example. There you go. Ethereum is a good example. Down at like levels of 2021, 2020 levels. It's starting to scream opportunity for some. And we're getting toward the point of altcoin capitulation where people are starting to genuinely get worried, which is really interesting to watch. And this is why we talk about panic stations and how the market sentiment flips on a knife edge, right? And it really does. And I talk about bullish videos about certain things. And often you find that like, well, what I'm talking about here, it might well be a crash. Not often it is because we hit levels of resistance, but people fly into it. Even though you're erring on the side of caution, go, back guys, chill out, man. It's not the time right now. Just relax. It's okay. But people just do it anyways. You've got to wait for clear confirmation bias to do it. And again, it's all part of the plan. Look at Chainlink. Random example. Is one of the worst performing assets I've ever seen in my life. It is absolutely dying. This is on par with Polkadot. It really is. And people are still talking about this being the best thing ever. I just don't see it. I just personally don't see it. I would not want to buy Chainlink until I see a clear trend to the upside. That's kind of how I feel. And I've talked about this before. Chainlink for me, it's not cheap enough to take that risk on. The same with Polkadot, right? I should have sold it earlier because look at the price of it. Like Polkadot from the high and the BTC pair to the low is down 94%. Chainlink, again, from its high to the low, it is down nearly 91%. You know, it's baffling. Cardano, we'll go for the previous cycle. Again, it's down 92%. Don't get me wrong, they're not in isolation. It could spark opportunity. But if you're having a plan just to buy the lows, fair enough, it's ballsy. You are at low levels, and it's worth, in my opinion, punting a little bit on it. But for me, if I'm going to be honest, you need to wait for some sign of life, because you're not going to miss out much when the mania comes. If you are watching this video right now and you're thinking, right, I've got a list of A to Z of altcoins that I want to buy, maybe I'll look at where they are. You've got to find the area where it's interesting, and whether it's a low level and you think, fuck it, let's go for it. But for me, you need to wait for the trend to change, which is important for this chart coming up. Now, if you are a subscriber to the channel, you'll know I like this chart a lot. It's a total 3/BTC. Now, I get asked a lot of questions about this chart. Put that into your trading view. Just pause the screen, you put that in, right? That's how you get it. Now, I've not removed USD. I've just kept it as pure as I can. Now, for me, I've talked about this before, where we were at these levels of potential breakout and change of character, we were rejected. We are looking for a change of character / break of structure where we're going to start going up. That's kind of the trigger for alt season, in my opinion, because it's a total 3 and it's all the BTC pairs. You will not catch bottoms. If you catch bottoms, fair enough, but it's very risky. You need to wait for the trend to kind of do its thing. And we're currently in a horrible downtrend. We are below the EMA 8 and we're below the EMA 21. We have been for a while. And there's been absolutely, and this is absolutely boggling, by the way, there was an EMA crossover on the 19th of the 12th, 2022, which is in English the 19th of December, nearly Christmas time of 2022, right? There's been no reason for you to be actually holding any altcoin. And I openly opened my hands up with that. I should have been following this. But I wasn't, because I'm a fucking idiot sometimes. We all make mistakes, right? Feel free to talk about that. But the reality is here, there's been no reason to do it. What you're waiting for is a change of character, a change in the shift in the behavior. And we could see this like altcoin capitulation during COVID. We broke up and then we started to break structure. Once we broke structure at the active level spot, that is kind of your entry point. And again, we're waiting for that sort of pattern to happen again where we break previous structures, wherever the structure is going to become, we need to change it, then go up. That is why and where you need to buy altcoins, is when the trend is changing and momentum is there. You'll start to see volume metrics increase, the hype of social media, all the kind of bits and bobs. Buying and just hoping it's going to go up is not going to work. You could have small element of risk and have and build a position over time at fair value levels. But if you're just like hoping it's just going to go up, and the reality of this message is quite simple. During this time period of 679 days where you shouldn't have been in altcoins, which is scary to say and admit, I know, there's been people promoting and showing stuff, myself included, right? It's just the way it is. You've got to look and have a plan. My plan, luckily, has saved me by saying I'm going to be heavy in Bitcoin. During March and like stuff like that this year, I was much heavier in altcoins because they made good value and I rotated into Bitcoin, which I was lucky enough to do. I should have went even more aggressive and sold obviously my Polkadot and stuff like that, but I didn't. But luckily, the plan is there all to see. These sort of charts will get you out of jail and also into a really good spot. But many people don't look at them, let's be honest. Another variant of this chart as well is others.btc. Again, if you want to just copy that in, this is the others. It's the others.btc basically, or others.d is another one as well. There's all kinds of levels of interest down here. And it's mad to think where we are going. And it's a bit scary for some people to watch. But in terms of taking profit, it's mad to think because we're going to have some really crazy numbers, right? We always do. In any altcoin bull market, things do rise and it's scary. But I've often said this, I don't think everything's going to rise this cycle because there's too many of them for one. Now, levels of planning that I don't have, I do not know where this is going to go. I don't know how high it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to drop to. But when we start talking about numbers and targets, if we're looking at potential extension levels and we're all the way up at these stupid levels, say for example between 160 and 200k, and we're still in Bitcoin and everything's rosy and the altcoins have ran, there's a really good chance you're probably going to be taking profit there, let's be honest. And that's just a random area that I've just plonked on my chart. Let's be honest here, that's just a round number. But also you've got these big, juicy extension levels which could trigger markets to move. Well, not so much move, but people to come into the markets, right? So if you're planning, have a plan to get rid of your coin. Put it that way. Too many people just hold. Just hold. Now for me, I'm not really a good holder. I'm not. If I buy something low and I get rewarded, I will reward myself. It's just the way markets are. But many people don't, and they get absolutely battered, and exit liquidity will just be labeled on your head. Do not become exit liquidity. You need to, at some point, take money out of the game, because what is the point of investing, right? In your plan, you need to have levels where you need to identify which is good for buying, which on a lot of altcoins are pretty much around this point anyways, and then when to sell. But the reality is you need to do your research, you need to find which is actually quite good to buy and what's got a narrative and what could be quite juicy. What will get picked up? Will the overall element of utility tokens do well? Technology tokens, will they do well? Will the hype just return and continue with the likes of the meme coins and other things around that, which is simple and easy to get involved in? And then when we talk about the S&P 500, the dollar and all that kind of stuff, it gets very, very barbaric. But the reality is here, a lot of the top altcoins are down big. They might run hard as well. That's a scary point. But that doesn't mean just ape into them because I've done it before. May not be as good. And as I said before in this video, the previous cycle for a lot of people was underwhelming versus the prior cycle to that. So what's this cycle going to be all about for altcoins? Is it just going to be a Bitcoin-led season where it's going to be runes and people miss the boat on runes because it's too hard to navigate at the minute, but it might become easy and people miss out on the boat? It's madness. But anyways, that's kind of my plan. Giving some of it away. Don't want to give away too much though. I like to err on the side of secrecy for my own stuff, for my own sanity really, but buy low, sell high. When dominance is getting high, consider your altcoin positions. When it gets lower than what it has been, a lot lower, maybe take some profit. Look at the total 3/BTC and just don't over leverage.